Hey guys, Freddie here. So, figured I'd reminisce about all the youth weeks that I've had before. Sorry, my camera stand's weird, but anyways, so my first year, I was kind of out of my depth. I knew a few of them from subbing, but I was out of my depth. First time I'd done it before. Didn't know what to charge, didn't know what to expect. But ended up making it. And I remember two kids in particular from my first year. One of them was a boy who hung around a lot. Kind of a troublemaker at school, but I liked him a lot. Then I saw him at school and still liked him a lot. But anyways, he hung around quite a bit just to talk and stuff. Plus, I ended up being his friend, more or less. Then there was a girl there, too. I don't remember what the logistics were, but I remember we had run out of something, and we had hung the menus up where they were supposed to be hung, and like she was one of the last customers for the night, and I was like, hey kid, I give you a free whatever sour straw if you climb up there and like take all the lettuce off and hand them to me. And she was appreciative of that. And then the next day she came over and was telling all about how she had invited her bio dad to camp. Which is fine until you realize she never actually met her bio dad before. So it was risky, for sure. But she was excited. It was going to happen the next day. And so she came around and was talking and just hanging out. That was giving her a safe space to hang out and talk. And then, they was having a water war, and she ended up getting a few spray pistols and trying to attack the snack shack with them, and I had to be like, no one gets into this sanctum. No one. But she ended up reunited with her bio dad. He came down for the unofficial family night. Technically, there is no such thing as family night there. Long story. It's real tough on the food workers because they don't know how much food to prepare. So, family night is unofficial now. But he came down. I saw him get out of his truck, and they gave each other a big hug. And the boy I just mentioned, he was hanging out, and we were both watching, and I was like, buddy, you have just witnessed a beautiful thing. Then, of course, the first thing she does is bring her dad down to meet me and meet the other guy. The other guy was real scared that he had a crush on her, or that she had a crush on him. that turned out not to be the case, thankfully. So that was the story of how I came to have the free life advice on the menu there. Oh, also, my 2 helpers from the previous week were students, and they had come and couldn't allow them in the shack because no students allowed in the shack. Then also instated the secret menu because I figured there were people who didn't bring their money to camp, because I know a lot of people go from boys week to youth week or from girls week to youth week not needing money, and then youth week comes, they need money, and oh dear. So I figured get them some free items. The game was, if you couldn't find it on the menu but you saw it on the shelf, it was free. The method to that was the church I used to go to used to be part of this thing where stores would donate their free food to churches, and the only stipulation was you weren't allowed to sell it. So the church I used to go to, it was kind of poorly run in that department. Like, we were like, oh, cool, ministry opportunity. Now, what are we going to do with all this food? I don't know. What do you think we should do with all this food? I don't know. What do you think we should do with all this food? So I ended up packing a bunch of it, taking it to camp, taking it to the campers. So that was a staple for years until this year. Didn't do it this year, more on that later. It was kind of brutal because the month prior, I had just become a vegan. So not just being around my mom's cooking, but also being around all those snacks, all those chocolate bars, and all that soda pop. Soda pop is vegan, but I will not drink caffeinated soda anymore because family history of heart problems. So there was all of that, and yeah, it was brutal. But hey, what can you do? And besides, it just shows that I'm a little more trustworthy in handling the food and the snacks. You know, I'm not going to be just eating whatever I possibly can fit into my mouth. So there's that. But that was a good first year. Mainly because of those 2 kids, but there were a lot of others as well. Like the Las Tres Amigas from the local megachurch. The pastor's daughter and the 2 newscasters who I just mentioned. Then the next year was when I put up free life advice. Because of that one kid. And I ended up helping a few kids out with that. A few of them just wanted like boilerplate advice, but I was like, yo, what kind of advice you want? And one that sticks out in my mind I came here with is going around with other friends and is kind of ignoring me right now. And so I was like, well, find her other friends, strike up conversations with them, see what happens. And she came back and was like, oh my goodness, this was awesome. Thank you for your advice. We're friends again. We're in the same circle of friends, and I didn't even think I did that much, but she was like, oh yeah, you're signing my shirt, the guy who changed my life. Okay. Thank you, I guess. But that was awesome. Oh yeah, and those two from the previous year had come back as well, so that was awesome. And then the next year was when I started telling the scary stories, but I was looking them up on Google instead of Youth Group Chronicles, because Youth Group Chronicles wasn't a thing back then. So I was just looking up old urban legends like Dog Under the Bed and the Yellow Ribbon and a few other classics. And I was telling them, and a few of them really liked it. A few of them, one particular lady absolutely did not want anything to do with it, and she just like ran away. So yeah, so that was that. I enjoyed that. I'll also remember that one teacher's kid who just ran up to the shack, slammed a 20 on the counter and said, how many Hershey bars can I get for this? And I was like, I don't have that many Hershey bars. And then I went to the store the next day, got more Hershey bars. Guess who lost his appetite for Hershey bars? Yeah. Don't think I haven't forgot, bub. But anyways, that was the... Oh, that's right. So these two emo girls who were cousins, who come from like this ginormous family who comes every year, and I mean giant family. They were wanting to stick around and listen to me tell scary stories, and they had come up with their own. They also said that a couple of them were lame, and all of them were predictable, and hey, I get it. But also, they thought they saw a specter running around camp, which I know could not have been the case, because, specters aren't real. And then somehow they saddled me with the name of that specter, and I don't know how that happened, but it was not nice of them, and I just lit into them about it, and they quit. One of them was back this year and had me sign her shirt, so I know no hard feelings there. So that was it. year, even though I could have done without that nickname, which I will not divulge. It was still pleasant enough company. And their mom, or whoever that was, left me like one of them Harry Potter chocolate frogs for me to eat, just like in thanks. This was back when I was doing monthly cheat days for being vegan, and I was like, okay, whenever it's time to clean up the entire camp of food, I'm just gonna eat it. And just giant blob of milk chocolate. Wasn't anything special, but still appreciate the thought, though. It was very, very sweet of her to do that. And then the next year is when it all went kablooey. That fourth year, it was still overall a good week, don't get me wrong. I still had a blast. But, my goodness, it was the worst year yet, and it is not even close. Let me explain. The good part was, we actually broke a record, over 100-year record, I think, of number of campers, which we matched during the next year, which is surprising. More on that later. But we had 250 kids, and that's not including staff. So I had to room with my folks in the staff cabin, and the bulk of the week was good. But two very bad things happened, which will make that year go down as the worst in Bates Creek history. For one thing, I had the worst sore throat I have ever had in my life, and it would not go away. Was it strep? I don't know. Maybe it was. I sure hope not, because I was around a lot of people. Like, I bought a thing like that of honey, and I downed it in like 72 hours. It was that bad. That being said, I got through it. But there was one other thing that happened, and that was an inappropriate touch. One of the staff leaders, or not staff, one of the cabin leaders from a church that had not been to this association's camp before. He'd been acting weird all week, like, talk about creepy uncle vibes. Like, I can remember I would like dry dishes with him sometimes, and he would like constantly be motor mouthing, like talking about stories that he was like, you know, wanting to straight up fight someone, wanting to like punch them till they were no longer around. And I called him out, like, kind of a half-hearted call out, like, hey, now, that's not nice, but, saw her meeting with a few other camp leaders. She was crying. Because that was a super rude thing for him to do. But, and he was bragging about it later, and I was like, hey, that's not nice. Don't be doing that. And, then we're going on like a trash run or something, and, then we see our bishop, our director of missions. We Baptists don't have a bishop, but for lack of a better word, our bishop is standing on the side of the road there, and we're like joking around, hey, you want to ride back? And he was like, no, I'm waiting on the cops, because the creepy dude made an inappropriate touch to, I'm not even sure to this day who it was, but I know it was someone in league with the people who had saddled me with the rude nickname the previous year. And so both the Offenders Church and the Offendeds Church ended up evacuating that night. And I think the mega church ended up evacuating too because of a vaping incident. But there were fewer dishes to dry at breakfast and the following lunch, but that shouldn't have happened. And there was no way to prevent it either. I mean, the dude's record was clean. Because we background check everybody. But I was ticked. And I'm sure a lot of other people were ticked as well. The guy swears up and down he didn't do it, and maybe he did, maybe he didn't, but man, easily the worst year yet, with my sore throat and with Creeper Dude. And then a camp pastor joined me in the shack and was dishing out advice, and I love this guy. He is one of the coolest pastors I know, one of the coolest people I know. He's actually the pastor of the church I got baptized in. But he was dishing out free life advice, and I didn't have the heart to say it to him, but I was like, dude, that's my thing. Free life advice is my thing. But oh well. One nice thing was I reconnected with a kid that I had met the year prior. Let me backtrack. Third year, this kid who I had evidently met at Boys Week, but really don't remember from Boys Week at all. I had bought a bunch of Pokemon cards, and because it had crossed over with Pokemon Go, and I was just giving a bunch of them out during my second year. And my third year, this kid who went to a private school, he just appears out of nowhere and says, I want to talk about Pokemon. And I was like, okay, what do you want to talk about? Pokemon? You want to talk about the show, the cards, Pokemon Go, the mainline games, what? And so he and I got to be Pokemon Go friends, which carried over into year 4. I actually did not get to say a proper goodbye to him year 3, but I did get to say goodbye to him on year 4. Got to play one last round at 9 Square with him. Got to be his friend on Pokemon Go. Got to trade with him. He's the one who I was trading with this year. So, it was good seeing him. He's one of the greats. Him and the Lawnmower Boys, who are camp royalty as well. And it was good seeing a ton of people who I had subbed for. Oh yeah. Another thing that happened in year 3. So this kid I'd known ever since a little bit after he was born. His dad passed away like right after he was born, and Dad is really, really good friends with this kid's stepdad. Because they used to work in the same circles. No, they used to go to church together. But anyways, he was around that 3rd year and was super cool. Then there was this girl who I had evidently been her sub, but she was like so good in class that I like quiet and well behaved that I didn't even know she was my student. You only get to know the boisterous ones with the loud personalities, you know what I mean? But I kid you not, this girl took it upon herself after lunch every day to mop the cafeteria floor. Like, seriously, what kid does that? One of the coolest kids ever. And I also knew who her sister was, so that was cool. And then, you know, we would run into each other when we were subbing, and, you know, the more I interact with her, the more cool this kid gets. Like, she worked for Space Museum, just volunteering there, and is like super smart, super like well versed in science. So meeting her was awesome in my 3rd year. And then the disastrous 4th year, pretty much the kid I traded Pokemon with was like the only returning kid who I was friends with, and then a few kids who I had subbed for, but overall that 4th year, nah. Honestly, my 5th year, which was the year prior to this one, it was one of the better youth weeks, because a ton of kids who I substituted for, who had never been to camp before, were there. There's that one girl who likes cats, who I've known since 3rd grade. There was that cheerleader who I knew and was really good friends with. There were a few others, but a lot of kids who I did not have on my bingo card as going out to my camp. But man, that was a good year. Got to events that could have happened. It was just an all-around good year. And I was there for it. Not to mention all the free life advice I gave. I know one boy in particular, I think I told this story before, but he was having trouble playing baseball because he was a good baseball player, but then his dad paid for him to go to a special baseball camp, and he was starting to be really trash at it. So he ended up coming to me for advice, and I was like, so basically you're trying to play a little harder because your dad spent a lot of money to send you to this baseball camp. And he was like, yeah. And I was like, so what you're telling me is you're trying to be someone you're not. And he was like, yeah. And I was like, dude, Pokemon Kid was not back, but I know, the royal family, so to speak, the ones who actually live in that part of the world, they were all there, and I was trading Pokemon with them because, why not? If you can get Signal, why not? And I'm sure I'm missing a bunch of stories, like the gaggle of girls from from the school I graduated from. One of them who shares the name with a famous singer whose sister I graduated with. The kid, not the singer. They would always be showing up, and then the one member of the royal family who just really has nothing better to do and just hangs around the shack all the time. And the one annoying kid who absolutely nobody likes but keeps coming back year after year after year, even though he's arrogant, selfish, pompous brat. Obviously not gonna spend too much time on him. He don't come around the shack too often. But yeah. Good times. And I am really, really gonna miss him. Oh yeah. And last year, evidently there was a gay kid who showed up and was hitting on another kid, and he came up to me and said, hey, I'm straight, how do I get this guy to stop hitting on me? And I was like, well, you just say, listen, man, I'm flattered, but this dog don't bark that way. And if you know what show that's from, I pity you. I really do. And then there was the other thing that happened last year that I'm blanking on. But if I remember, I'll put a pinned comment. In fact, cheerleader I mentioned. Evidently she and a guy had been talking during camp, and she was like, hey, what do I do? And I was like, better to have loved and lost than never to have loved at all. And she did not come back to camp this year, but her boyfriend, on the other hand, did. So it was cool seeing him, technically meeting him, but yeah. Good times. Okay. And then one of my other students came up and was like reading something out of a book. She was like, there's this guy in my Bible study who likes gaming and whatnot. And so then I was like, yeah, make a go of it, or try to, and see where it takes you. And then the next day she came back and was like, nah, it didn't work. And then during the year, she was like, oh, by the way, Mr. Bond, I made up the entire thing. She said it was for a book she was writing. Hey, if you publish it, kid, I want a signed copy. I'm not kidding. But in a lot of ways, last year was definitely the best. I mean, this year was awesome, but I mean, there was that cloud hanging over me that it was my last year. So, and then not many people wanted life advice either. But this has become a ginormously long video, and I apologize if you wanted to have just a short video to watch, but man, what all is there to say about all the precious memories I have that are just locked away up here? I mean, I haven't written any of them down or anything like that. I've only kept a journal once, and it was tedious, but still, good times. And I'm glad I could share them all with you. I wouldn't take back a second of it. Even the year where the creeper guy was around, some sane person needed to be there to provide balance and help for the kids who were remaining. I wouldn't take back a second that I was there, because I knew the kids needed me, and I knew a lot of the grown-ups needed me too. Yeah, would have rather he kept his hands to himself or not come at all, but I did everything I could correctly that year, and that's why I don't regret a second of it. So, yeah. And with that, don't do anything you'll regret either. Oh yeah. And keep your hands to